Let's start our first news. Sean Strickland has once again crossed paths with Khamzat's teammate, Brendan Allen, adding even more fuel to the growing bad blood between the two middleweights. Allen is currently riding a 3-fight winning streak, and after his latest victory over Edmund Shabazian, he opened up about his history with Strickland and what happened when they met again. The tension goes back to the weeks before Khamzat faced Strickland for the middleweight title. Brendan joined Khamzat's training camp to help him prepare for the fight. Strickland had already defeated Allen years earlier, so he believed Brendan was brought in for a specific reason. Strickland suggested that Khamzat's team wanted someone who had first-hand experience fighting him, someone who could provide valuable information about his style and tendencies. But according to Allen, that wasn't actually the case. Allen explained that nobody asked him to copy Strickland during sparring or give the team specific information. In fact, he even asked whether they wanted him to imitate Strickland, but the answer was no. Instead, he was simply told to be himself and fight the way he normally does. Allen also pointed out that he and Strickland fought around 6 years ago, and while he still believes Strickland is essentially the same fighter, things can obviously change over time. After Allen defeated Shabazian, he reportedly crossed paths with Strickland again. Allen said he told him that Strickland had essentially sacrificed his teammate, referring to the outcome of the fight. Despite everything, Allen made it clear that he isn't overly concerned about what Strickland says. He acknowledged that he understands why Strickland might have viewed the situation differently, but ultimately, Allen's message was simple. Strickland can say whatever he wants. Allen doesn't really care. Move on to another news. Tom Aspinall and Ciryl Gane could be heading toward a high-stakes rematch, with reports suggesting that the two heavyweight stars are being lined up to meet at UFC 333 on October 24th. The potential rematch would be a major opportunity for both fighters. Aspinall is looking to establish himself as the dominant force at heavyweight, while Gane would have another chance to prove that he belongs at the very top of the division. With the fight reportedly in the works, anticipation is already building around what could be another fascinating heavyweight clash. Both men possess the athleticism, speed, and technical ability to create serious problems for each other, making this matchup one that could have major implications for the division. Meanwhile, another exciting story emerged from UFC Abu Dhabi, where Magomed Zaykov made an impressive UFC debut and remained undefeated. Zaykov secured a unanimous decision victory over Damian Japsky after outstriking his opponent across 3 rounds. It was a strong first appearance inside the UFC, but despite securing the win, Zaykov revealed that he still received some criticism from Khabib. Speaking during the post-fight press conference, Zaykov explained that he immediately spoke with Khabib after leaving the cage. According to Zaykov, Khabib praised the performance and described the fight as exciting and entertaining. However, there was one major issue that caught his attention. Zaykov admitted that Khabib wasn't happy about a missed takedown opportunity. The message from his coach and mentor was simple. The fight was good, it was exciting, and the victory was secured. But missing that takedown was not acceptable. It perfectly shows the high standards expected from fighters training alongside Khabib. Even after an impressive UFC debut and a dominant decision victory, there is always something to improve. Move on to another news. Dan Hooker has revealed that he has been receiving a wave of disturbing threats from French fans ahead of his upcoming fight against UFC newcomer Saladin Parnasse. Speaking with Submission Radio, Hooker explained that the situation has been far more intense than anything he experienced during his previous fight against Benoit Saint-Denis. According to Hooker, the threats began after his matchup with Parnasse was announced. He said he has received messages from French supporters, with some allegedly telling him that he is going to die and making threats against him. Hooker admitted that he was surprised by the level of hostility because he didn't experience anything similar when he previously fought Saint-Denis, who is also French. The New Zealand veteran suggested that the difference could come down to the personalities of the fighters involved. Hooker described Saint-Denis as a respectful person and believes that his supporters may have followed that same attitude. However, Hooker claims the reaction from some of Parnasse's fans has been completely different. he expressed his frustration over the messages he has received, saying the level of hostility has been outrageous. While fighters are used to dealing with trash talk, criticism, and passionate fan reactions, Hooker's comments highlight how quickly online support can cross the line. Threats of violence are obviously a much more serious matter than normal fight promotion or rivalry. The upcoming fight has already generated plenty of attention, with Hooker preparing to face Parnasse in what could be a major test for both men. Parnasse is entering the matchup with significant expectations surrounding him, while Hooker has built a reputation as one of the toughest and most experienced competitors in the sport. Now, with the fight approaching, Hooker appears to be dealing with an unexpected side effect of the matchup: intense hostility from a section of the fan base. Whether the threats are genuine or simply reckless messages from overly passionate supporters, Hooker's comments have certainly added another layer of drama to an already highly anticipated fight. For now, Hooker remains focused on the matchup itself, but his latest comments make it clear that the tension surrounding this fight extends far beyond the octagon. Move on to another news. Khabib Nurmagomedov may have been pleased with Magomed Zaynukov's successful performance, but it appears the former champion still had something to criticize after the fight. Magomed Zaynukov delivered an exciting performance, and the fight unfolded in exactly the way many people expected. From the opening moments, both fighters were willing to engage, exchange strikes, and keep the action moving. It was the kind of matchup that naturally attracted attention because fans were expecting an entertaining battle. After the fight, Zaynukov was asked about the reaction from his team and whether Khabib had spoken to him about the performance. According to the comments, Khabib congratulated him and acknowledged that it was a fun and exciting fight. However, that praise came with an important observation. The fight had essentially gone the way everyone expected. Khabib and those around him already anticipated that the matchup would turn into an entertaining contest. They expected both fighters to engage and create a high-paced battle, and that's exactly what happened inside the cage. However, the criticism appears to have focused on the technical side of the performance rather than the overall entertainment value. For fighters who train under the influence of Khabib's system, simply winning is often not enough. There is an emphasis on discipline, control, and executing the game plan correctly. Even when a fighter produces an exciting performance, there can still be areas that need improvement. That's what makes Khabib's approach so demanding. A fighter can receive congratulations after a victory while still being reminded that certain mistakes cannot be repeated. In this case, the message seems to be that the fight was enjoyable and entertaining, but there was still room for improvement. For Magomed Zaynukov, the positive takeaway is obvious. He delivered a performance that lived up to expectations and gave fans the kind of action they were hoping to see. At the same time, the criticism from Khabib shows that the standards surrounding his team remain extremely high. The victory may have been successful and the fight may have been exciting, but the message from Khabib was clear. Entertainment is important, but technical execution and discipline still matter. For Zaynukov, this experience could ultimately become valuable. Getting praised for an exciting fight while also receiving criticism from someone with Khabib's experience can provide another opportunity to grow. The performance was fun, the fight was exciting, and the result was positive. But according to Khabib's standards, there is still work to do. Move on to another news. Khamzat has made it clear that he is still waiting for a rematch with Sean Strickland. And according to the former title challenger, the fight could happen as soon as Strickland agrees to step inside the octagon again. The situation goes back to UFC 3328, where Khamzat suffered a setback in his pursuit of the middleweight championship. Since that loss, there has been plenty of speculation about what comes next for him and whether a rematch could eventually be arranged. Now, speaking in a recent interview, Khamzat revealed that he remains ready to run it back. According to Khamzat, nothing has changed on his side. He claims that he continues to train regularly while waiting for the next opportunity to compete. The fighter also suggested that he is simply waiting for Strickland to make his next move. Khamzat explained that he is always in the gym and ready whenever the UFC decides to give him another fight. From his perspective, there is no need to rush the process because he is constantly preparing and staying in shape. His message was simple: whenever the opportunity arrives, he will be ready. The comments have now added another layer to the ongoing situation surrounding the middleweight division. While Khamzat appears eager to return, the timing of a potential rematch remains uncertain. At the same time, another heavyweight contender has also announced his return to training. A few weeks ago, Tom Aspinall told fans on social media that he had returned to the gym and started preparing for a potential rematch with Ciryl Gane. That update immediately sparked attention among heavyweight fans, especially with speculation growing around a possible second fight between the two elite contenders. Both stories highlight how quickly the UFC's top divisions can change. Fighters can spend months waiting for the right opportunity, while others are already back in the gym preparing for their next challenge. For Khamzat, however, the message remains consistent. He says he is training, he is staying ready, and he is waiting for the next call. Whether that eventually leads to another showdown with Strickland or a completely different matchup, the Khamzat appears determined to make his return as soon as the opportunity becomes available. Move on to another news. Carlos Ulberg has suggested his ideal roadmap for the UFC light heavyweight division, and it could create two major fights with serious title implications. Ulberg believes Magomed Ankalaev should face Jiří Procházka, while Paulo Costa should be matched up against Khalil Rountree. According to Ulberg, Ankalaev versus Procházka is the fight the division deserves. Ankalaev is coming off a dominant victory over Bogdan Guskov, and Ulberg believes both fighters should now be given enough time for a full training camp before they settle the question of who deserves the next title opportunity. The other matchup Ulberg proposed is Costa against Rountree, which he views as a high-risk, high-reward battle. Both fighters are dangerous strikers, and a victory for either man could potentially put them in position to challenge for the championship. As for Ulberg himself, the champion appears willing to wait. Rather than rushing back into action, he says he is prepared to face whoever proves they are truly worthy of the next title shot once these potential matchups play out. However, Ulberg's return will depend heavily on his recovery. The champion is currently dealing with a torn ACL that he suffered during his fight with Procházka. The injury has forced him to temporarily put his title defenses on hold while he focuses on getting fully healthy. That means the light heavyweight division could have plenty of time to sort itself out before Ulberg is ready to return. Once he is fully recovered, though, the champion has made his position clear. He will be ready to defend his title against whoever emerges as the most deserving contender. Ulberg's teammate, Dan Hooker, has also weighed in on the situation, with discussions already beginning about who could eventually become the champion's next opponent. Move on to another news. Shavkat Rakhmonov's return to the UFC could now be delayed until 2027, according to a new update regarding his recovery. Rakhmonov has been dealing with a serious knee injury that has required multiple surgeries, and his physician, Mika Marquardt, has reportedly provided an update on his rehabilitation timeline. According to the latest information, the earliest Rakhmonov could be expected to return to the octagon is during the winter of 2027. If that timeline holds, it would mean an extremely long absence for one of the UFC's most highly regarded welterweights. Rakhmonov's last fight came against Ian Machado Gary, and by the time he potentially returns, he could have spent roughly 3 years away from active competition. That's a massive amount of time for any fighter, especially someone who had built significant momentum before being forced onto the sidelines. Rakhmonov had established himself as one of the most dangerous contenders in the division, known for his ability to finish opponents and maintain an undefeated professional record. However, injuries have now dramatically changed the trajectory of his career. Instead of preparing for another major matchup, Rakhmonov has been focused on recovering from his knee problems and completing the rehabilitation process. The potential 2027 return date is obviously disappointing news for fans who were hoping to see him back much sooner. But after undergoing multiple surgeries, the priority will be making sure he is fully healthy before stepping back into the octagon. A return after such a long layoff could present an entirely new challenge. Rakhmonov will have to regain his timing, conditioning, and confidence inside the cage after spending years away from competition. For now, though, the timeline remains dependent on his recovery. If everything goes according to plan, fans could finally see Rakhmonov return in the winter of 2027. Until then, the undefeated welterweight will have to remain patient as he continues what could be the longest recovery of his career.